Broadcast is live, it says.
Does it say that for you?
It just
And we're
started.
live. And we're live. Back again for another Sunday Satoshi Live. I'm your host, Colby Noe, with regular guest Bitcoin Ben, the madman himself. What's up, Ben? Welcome back to another Sunday Satoshi.
Thank you for having me. Good to be here. Looking forward to talking about some interesting news and Bitcoin, as always.
Absolutely. The most interesting things in life, folks. We're getting started on this glorious Sunday evening at block number 782, 632. Lock in, buckle your seatbelts. I hope your sats are cold and your mug is warm, or whatever you're drinking on. I hope your beverage is ready for the simultaneous sip. Let's get started.
Cheers.
Cheers, brother. I'm sipping on a little English tea. What are you sipping on?
Just ran out of regular coffee, so I was doing some Trader Joe's instant coffee, which was pretty good. But so far for the usual.
Are you drinking the cheapy coffee to stack the sats, or what's the strategy behind that?
I guess you could say that. I'm not looking
I'm
for
cool with that.
Not looking to splurge on anything except sats for the most part.
I feel that. So still lots going on. Last week we talked about a lot of the banking chaos that continues. But we got some really cool stuff to dive into. We had Greenpeace coming at us with the skull of Satoshi. Ooh, I hope that really makes you question your ideology. This seemed to backfire in a glorious way. The Bitcoin community embracing the skull of Satoshi. So we'll get to that in just a moment. What else? Biden's proposing taxes. So this was kind of last week's news. But Biden is proposing a pretty massive tax on Bitcoin miners, proof of work miners. So that's interesting. We'll see where that goes. And what do you think, Ben? Where should we get started here?
I think, probably start with the most visually interesting part of the headlines and thumbnails, being the Satoshi skull and some of the more lighthearted, funny conclusions you can draw around that. And then I guess we can get into the weeds a little bit with talking about taxes and banks and all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely getting in the weeds. So the skull of Satoshi, this is an interesting story. It kind of blew up and has become a meme. So let's go ahead and get to that first, my friends. Hope everybody had a great week. Lots of stuff going on. All right, so let's go straight to the source first. And let's give Greenpeace, let's give them the kind of the benefit of the doubt, right? And let's hear what they have to say. They basically want to change Bitcoin's code as if that's possible.
Right.
And so they had a climate artist spend 1,000 hours on this thing. And to be fair, his art is dope. His art is dope as hell.
We definitely appreciate the art.
It's a pretty glorious piece. And Greenpeace, of course, wanted to highlight the environmental impact of the use of energy and this skull. And I'm not sure if it would be against YouTube's rights if I was to play that, but they had some really cool pictures of this thing with like the shadowy super coders in the background, and they had a little kid looking at this thing. It's got computer chips all over it, and a bunch of cords, and it was meant to highlight the waste involved and energy usage of the piece. And let's just kind of let's have a look at the article itself just to see what points we can draw from it. But basically they said coal is being used for Bitcoin mining. And Ben, you're in Kentucky. They love coal out there. Coal
Yeah, we're
keeps
pretty big.
coal keeps the lights on, baby.
Yep, that's what every third person's license plate says around
That's what
here.
my license plate said, to be fair, full disclosure.
And the coal industry is currently trying to bankroll our next Republican governor. We'll see if that works out. But
Is that right?
in the primaries right now, yeah, Kelly Craft is a coal money candidate.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so Greenpeace points out that Bitcoin's annual, they're complaining about greenhouse gases, as you do, and they're comparing the energy usage to countries like Ireland and Chile, and they say that Greenpeace and Von Wong, who's the artist that put this thing together, are calling on companies to push Bitcoin to change its code.
Yeah, change the code, not the environment or whatever. Change the code, don't change the climate.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, that may not even be feasibly possible insofar as, you're talking about a hard fork, but you're not going to actually eliminate Bitcoin itself. So, anybody's free to change Bitcoin's code, but that doesn't mean that the nodes will agree with you and anyone will care about your code change.
Right.
So Bitcoin just keep a gonna Bitcoin, right? Like Bitcoin just continues on, but it's questionable whether or not what they're asking for is even possible feasibly in any stretch of the imagination.
Right. In the article, they claim that if they can, persuade these 30 like critical entities or whatever it is to advocate for the changing of the code, then they can, get the whole network to follow. But I feel that would be an impossible thing to achieve. And if you did achieve it, you would probably, destroy a lot of the confidence and, value that Bitcoin brings. It's
they're trying to change it to proof of stake. And interestingly enough, this project was bankrolled by the Ripple founder, which is a shitcoin, for lack of a better term.
Right. They're trying to take out the competition.
So, that's interesting. Going over to the Coin Telegraph piece, they have an interesting take on it. And also, I forgot to mention, so Von Wong, the artist that put this thing together, he had a super interesting take on Twitter where he was actually interested to hear the pro Bitcoin side of things and how Bitcoin actually is fueling greater efficiency of the use of energy. So the artist has come around and actually been fairly receptive to that as well. I think he's going to be attending the Bitcoin conference in Miami this year.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and they're trying to get him to bring this thing because, as the Cointelegraph has pointed out, Bitcoiners have embraced this symbolism, this piece of art, and we just have embraced it because basically everything is for Bitcoin. I mean, even if you're working against Bitcoin, Bitcoin don't care and only grows stronger and stronger with each block that passes by.
Yeah, I think it's pretty funny. Like, you could even picture the giant skull as like a meteor or the freaking moon crashing into the planet or something, and that the Earth being Bitcoin, and the skull being efforts to try to destroy it, and the Bitcoin community just like grasps it, embraces it with open arms, and says, this is beautiful. This is our mascot. We're going to use this as fuel.
Yeah, 100%. And it is a badass piece. So not surprising that Bitcoiners, aren't affected by Greenpeace's kind of LARPing and shrieking and complaining about the energy use of Bitcoin. Because when you think about it, what else? I would argue that Bitcoin is the best use of energy of anything, basically. And the reason for that is because Bitcoin is fixing the money, and the corruption of our money is what leads to so much waste and inefficiency. It's the fiat system that funds unnecessary wars. It funds unbelievable waste. I mean, if you want to talk about waste, the government and the military waste more resources than anything, really. So that's a good place to get started.
The financial system and, insurance industries and, bureaucracies and all these industries that employ people just for the sake of employing people, that just sit around and, are not, doing a necessary function in a lot of ways.
If the money's corrupt, then obviously you're going to have a lot of waste and corruption built on top of that unsound foundation. So, I think Greenpeace they're either completely ignorant of Bitcoin, which is fairly obvious, but they're also ignorant of how Bitcoin it's the buyer of last resort, in a sense, for stranded energy sources. When energy it's Bitcoin is absolutely wonderful at consuming energy that would otherwise be wasted, and how curtailments and how Bitcoin miners use a lot of energy and then can turn off to allow for the grid to rebalance and support the base load of energy that is then made available to the market. It acts as a balancing feature for grids. So it's actually and it allows renewable energy to be built because wind and solar is less reliable, and when it produces energy, it produces it in abundance, and when it's not producing, it's not producing. So it acts as the Bitcoin miners almost act, I'm not sure if this is the right way to put it, but they almost act as like a battery insofar as they can consume waste energy that would otherwise go to waste, but then when the grid needs energy, they can turn off and allow that energy back onto the grid, because it's not like every kilowatt is consumed by consumers. A lot of it goes to waste, and there needs to be obviously energy in excess and abundance, and Bitcoin helps promote the abundance of energy that's made available to consumers.
Yeah. Fantastic points. I was thinking of the word, I'm not an electrician either, but I was thinking of the word capacitor. But yeah, I mean,
flux capacitor.
Bitcoin, functions like a cushion on any electrical grid. It can be, it'll be down in time of crisis and critical things will come online, and then Bitcoin will come back online. And I'm sure Bitcoin miners will help make sure that power doesn't stay offline for too long, because that's not good for business.
It's the best. It's the best use of energy. It's the best use of energy. Full stop. I'm not going to defend Bitcoin insofar as saying it shouldn't be consuming massive amounts of energy. No, Bitcoin's the best use of energy. That's how I feel about it.
And as a green argument, one more green argument.
Let's hear a green argument.
Right.
By the way, I hate to be annoying, but can you come closer to the mic, because I look like a giant, and you're looking all zoomed out on me.
Yeah, let me see if I can pull the laptop closer. That might help things quite a bit.
Cool.
There we go. But yeah, for green things, and this goes back to thinking about prosperity and having clean, healthy communities and things like that. People in poverty are the ones who tend to, have a hard time keeping their communities clean, because they're too busy worried about, where their next meal's coming from.
About being poor. Yeah.
Yeah. They have a, incredibly high short time preference, and, fixing the money, like you said, Bitcoin is a tool that, allows people to transfer wealth and resources into the future which will, lower people's time preference. And when you can think about the future, you can think about, wow, maybe I don't want, all this crap in my community, in 10 years when I'm here raising my kids or something like that. And you have
You just
time
blew
to
my
make
mind. You just blew my mind, Ben, because that's such a good point, that who needs sound money the most? It actually is people that don't have any money. Like, it is the people more affected by poverty. They benefit most from the money getting fixed.
Bitcoin
Because
for the hood.
100%, my G. And if you think about it, the quintillionaires, the people who are benefiting from fiat money, access to the lowest interest rates, the people with access to credit, because effectively fiat money is debt, those people, they're benefiting from the system. And it's like it's like Jeff Booth says, like, if you're looking at it from within the system, from within the lens or the perspective of the system, and if you're benefiting directly from the Federal Reserve or the central banks printing money, then you're probably going to want to keep that system as is, because you're rent seeking, you're getting cash flow from the debt as such, from the debt-based system. Fiat money is a debt-based Ponzi scheme, folks. It's all about debt. And all the dollars, all the pounds, all the yen, all the euros, all the francs, and all the other rubbish currencies out there in the world that are failing, they're all IOUs. They're all based on a promissory note to pay, backed by nothing but faith and credit. And so Bitcoin and gold, I see somebody just slid up in the chat with a gold bug. Appreciate you tuning. Appreciate you being here.
Nice.
Bitcoin is digital gold. And when you start to conceive of this, how you can literally take custody of it, you can literally have full control of it and possession of it, just like putting a gold ounce in your hand, but even more secure than that. Bitcoin's even superior to the physical gold technology, which has served humanity well for thousands of years.
Yeah.
So back to your point, Ben, who needs sound money the most? It's really everybody, but especially the people that are their time value of their energy and their limited scarce resources is being robbed away. They're bleeding out and they're hemorrhaging value to the future because they're getting robbed by inflation.
Right. Yeah, it's really sad. People who are, I guess, financial hawks or whatever, fiscal conservatives are always like, you're enslaving the next generation to debt. You're selling out the next generation. It's like, yes, that's true, but you're also just stealing value from the present and, to waste on whatever other corrupt interests or projects are going on.
And it leads to that low time preference. My money is losing value, so I better spend it irresponsibly. I appreciate that point, Ben. That's a really, really good point. 100%. Also, it's interesting to point out where's the greatest Bitcoin adoption happening. As we've spoken of in previous shows, it's happening in places like Africa. It's happening in places where people need money that actually works. And, the global reserve currency, which has been the US dollar, has benefited, it's benefited America, right? The petrodollar system. But we're already seeing that starting to come apart, as evidenced by banks starting to become less certain, bank failures. This is just the beginning, folks. Like I said to start the show, buckle your seatbelts. I'm glad you're joining us for another Sunday Satoshi, but we're talking about things that are actually meaningful, and Bitcoin's top of the list.
Yeah, I see it now as like, people have been complaining about this unlevel playing field. People always talk about, we want to level the playing field. We want to equal, equality of opportunities. And, that's exactly what, at this point, the fiat system has been designed to, keep imbalanced. That's, and like you said, it's benefiting the people that are at the very top that, have billions of dollars to throw around and can control policy. And it's keeping down and suppressing,
Yeah. Do they really want to? Do they really want things to be more equitable? Do they really want, are they really willing to give up control of the ability to print money? I think not.
Yeah. No, they're not.
And you're not hearing a serious discussion from either party about that. But anyways, let's move on.
Yeah. One final point, if you don't mind.
Please go hit it. I'm going to throw some memes up real quick, and you make your point.
Right on. Nice. But yeah, so we have this unlevel playing field, and, I just simply see Bitcoin as the stable level playing field that's sitting right here. Plenty of people have already opted in, but all that needs to happen, is people just need to choose. We don't necessarily have to change anything. People just have to choose to opt out of the system that's, not serving them, and opt into the system that's, serving everyone equally based on, your own needs and contribution.
Well said. Well stated, my friend. I think that's really well put. And I believe that Bitcoin is the most powerful statement you can make politically, economically, socially, and otherwise. And I think that when you learn about Bitcoin, you realize that not only is it the best way to help your community and people that you care about, but it's almost the only way to really make an impact fundamentally when you're talking about economics or overall. I don't know how to put it, but like not just economics, but politics, and also how your community functions and whatnot. I'll tell you what, I think we need a return to localism, where you care about your neighbor and you're not just ordering stuff on Amazon. You're not just ordering cheap crap from China, but you're like actually supporting local artisans and local people, community members.
Yeah.
We need to return to that, I think.
Right. Yeah, we don't want forced 15-minute communities, where we have to stay in the pod in a planned community, but you should be, involved in and know your, community around you. You should try to have community with your neighbors and buy local from the guy with the chickens around the corner or whatever.
100%. Because we're gonna need that. We've already seen inflation start to hit, those types of things, and it's like, hey, might as well support the guy down the road who has chicken eggs for sale and whatnot. Also, let me give a shout out to some businesses that accept Bitcoin. Nice. Peony Wines up in Colorado. I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, but Peony Wines. I'll throw him up on the screen real quick. Also, don't forget Ojai Jelly, OJAI Jelly. Let me. I
wouldn't let you forget, but well done.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. Ojai Jelly and Peony Wines are fantastic products that do accept Bitcoin, my friends. And if you care about Bitcoin adoption and you want to support quality products, get you some Ojai Jelly. It's wonderful. It's where heat meets sweet. It also happens to be my mom's business. And let's see, Peony Wines out of Colorado. Another wonderful. Oh, there it is. Because I actually traded some a case of my mom's jelly. I arranged value for value because that's what Bitcoin's all about.
Yes.
traded some value for value with my friend up there at the Peony Lane wines. We traded some jelly and some lovely Colorado vino, some lovely varietals up in Colorado. And that's what it's all about, folks. That's how I feel about it.
Where's
Bitcoin's
Colorado's
about
wine country?
Yeah, right. They actually produce some decent wines. So we ship some out to and they do accept Bitcoin as well. So hit them up. I'm not trading. My philosophy is I'm not trading my sats. I'm not selling my sats, with the exception of I will support, people and businesses that I care about. I'll support them, and I'll chuck them some sats.
Right. As long as you're replacing, your sat stash is, with an even greater regularity, of course.
That's right. Let's go to the next topic of conversation, which is Biden's tax on energy. I think we're going to just continue down the line of ignorance about Bitcoin and ignorance about its energy usage.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll go ahead and talk about how Biden plans on taxing the industry. Sad. I don't think it's going to get through, just because I think that a lot of states are wise to the benefits of proof of work mining, and also, you're just killing industry. It's not like it's going to go away because the hash rate number just go up.
Right. They're just putting a chokehold, putting a throttle on the industry, keeping out, a lot of the potentially smaller, or making the barrier to entry more difficult for miners, which, of course, is just going to mean less of it and or more mining going on, looking for solutions outside of the United States.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off there, Ben.
You're good.
Tatum Turnup just decided to pop in and say, "What's up? What's up, Tatum?" He was down there. I mentioned this. He was down there in Nostr, hanging out with the plebs down there, and that looked like such a good time.
That does sound like a good time.
But you know what's not a good time? Biden taxing proof of work mining.
No.
So that's not a good time. He's proposing a 30%. And here's what's so funny about this. He wants to tax the proof of work miners, even if they're using like solar or wind or off-grid sources,
right?
Which they claim that they want to promote. They want to use these energy sources and promote growth of these so-called renewable energy sources. But then they don't realize that Bitcoin plays a huge role in supporting these projects coming online. And yet they want to tax those off-grid projects similar to how they're taxing the on-grid projects that are pulling it from evil coal or what have you. I just find it all so rich and ridiculous.
Yeah, I wonder how would you tax my electricity if it was powered on all methane from my my bull
Your
crap
farts?
ranch? Yeah, my cow farts.
According to this proposal, they would tax it exactly the same. They would expect you to report it, and they would try to be taxing that ass that's producing methane.
Right. That's funny. I still just don't, I guess, understand how you would even quantify the electricity from cow farts. But
okay, so here's how it would work. According to this thing, you'd be required to report it at market rates. So it doesn't matter if it's your cows that are farting. They would say it converts to this much energy in kilowatts, or kilowatt hours, and you would be expected to pay market rates for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I printed out, so their actual Department of the Treasury, it was included in this Department of Treasury paper or whatever, and it was like 200 something pages long, and I dug through it and I found the page that related to this, page number 78. I'll have you know.
That's digging.
Yeah, absolutely. So the current law does not provide tax rules specifically addressing digital assets. So effectively, what they're trying to do is put an added tariff onto the energy usage if you're using it for reasons that they don't like. So that's all.
What does that mean?
It means if you're using the energy for something they don't like, then
like Bitcoin mining,
which is the proof of work mining. Yes, Bitcoin and other proof of work mining. But for the purposes, of the show, we're talking about Bitcoin. But yeah, it would also apply to other cryptocurrency mining that involves proof of work. They're proposing a 30% tax on all the energy usage, and they think that that's going to somehow dissuade Bitcoin mining. Of course, it won't. I mean, look at what happened in China. They made it illegal, and all the hash went to Texas.
Uh-huh.
or a good portion of it. And so, reasons for the change, they say that digital asset mining has a negative environmental effects and can have environmental justice implications as well. As well as increase energy prices for those that share an electricity grid with digital asset miners. And they say that an excise tax on electricity usage by digital asset miners could reduce mining activity. Really? I think not. Along with its associated environmental impacts and other harms. So effectively, 30% excise tax on the cost of electricity. You're required to report the amount and type of electricity. Firms that produce or acquire power off-grid, and this is the point that I think is just so rich with hypocrisy, is that firms that produce or acquire power off-grid, for example, by using the output of a particular electricity generating plant, would be subject to an excise tax equal to 30% of estimated electricity costs.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't care. They don't care where you're getting your energy. They're not just targeting energy sources that they disagree with and they're trying to shut down. But they're saying all energy, doesn't matter if you're helping, their renewable energy projects come online, which Bitcoin mining is responsible for helping a lot of those projects come online. Don't be ignorant. Do your research. But they are completely ignoring those benefits, and they're just saying Bitcoin mining bad, Orange coin bad, and we're just going to tax it. That's it. Like, we're just going to tax it, and we expect you to report all activities because we don't like that use of energy. And yet, if we're going to criticize use of energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it up to the government to say what they approve you to use energy about? Like, no. There's a huge amount of basically most energy use in the first world is unnecessary, right? You can deem it unnecessary.
Yeah, sure.
But that's why people want to live in the first world, because we have abundant energy. That's a good thing, not a bad thing.
Yeah, and the government, like I've said earlier, is known for being one of the largest employers of people who do nothing. So, they have office buildings and, pay people to drive their cars into work, millions of people in this country to show up to do work. And, they don't necessarily do work. Many of them do not. They sit there because, the government has to be ever growing budgets. They're not up in the business of efficiency or anything like that.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Again, I hope this doesn't actually get taken that seriously, because a lot of states are wiser than the federal government, wiser than the Biden administration, insofar as they do understand some of the benefits. And there's a lot of single issue voters as Bitcoin adoption grows. And also with the younger generations, they're more educated than the older generations that are fear mongered into these positions. So politicians are going to be less popular. Let's put it that way. They're going to be less popular if they're pushing forward these types of draconian measures.
Right.
And also the U.S. is taking on most of the hash now that China went along a similar route of just making it illegal. The hash just shifted to a more friendly jurisdiction, a more friendly sovereignty. It shifted to the states, and we have abundance of energy, and there's a lot of jobs that have been created, and a lot of energy generation projects that have been assisted by the Bitcoin mining industry. A lot of renewable projects have come online that would otherwise not have come online, and the grid is actually made stronger by proof of work mining and by Bitcoin. So not understanding that is just so ignorant that it is terrifying.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how you could argue that trying to create, I mean, a higher energy demand is going to force innovation and a more robust development in the electrical grid, and that's gonna be a positive, unlike whatever, buying parts from China and not maintaining things.
Bitcoin's amazing in that it's literally converting energy into pure monetary energy as a storage of value that lasts forever. So that's pretty amazing in and of itself, but also its ability to be flexible based on demand is technology that is it's a very positive game changer for the energy industry. Tatum adding some really good points in the chat. Appreciate you, Tatum. He says they're doing this because they're scared that people will start going toward the only life raft there is that takes money from their pockets. Couldn't have said it better myself. Hit the nail right on the head. And
I just noticed that I can see Tatum's comments in the stream here.
Yeah, excellent points. They're scared, and Bitcoin is a life raft indeed. And so let's talk about the banking stuff. Now that we got the off of the the old man yelling at Bitcoin. No, I'm not talking about Peter Schiff, folks. I'm talking about Joe Biden. Moving right along to the banking stuff. Let's talk more about that. What have you heard about this? Like, it's become like hard to keep track of all the banking stuff. You've got Signature Bank, you've got First Republic, you've got like we talked about a week ago, you've got Credit Suisse getting bailed out by UBS and the Swiss government. Things are looking shaky out there.
Yeah, there's a handful more of names of this or that bank that's struggling every week, it seems, and we'll see how it plays out. But I like that, calling Bitcoin a life raft. I feel like that is a very good way to put things, because if there's not a life raft, then that means you're going down with the ship, essentially, and and the ship is not sure, something's going to have to reset or disappear, and that's going to be your money disappearing and getting reset. So if you have not moved that value into something that will preserve it, then the government's just going to do as they wish, and force you into whatever new system.
Well, the CBDCs are coming. Brace yourselves, right? The Bitcoin halving is coming. CBDCs are also coming. I mean, we touched on that in earlier episodes of this live. How you read the World Economic Forum documents, and they're very transparent about how CBDCs are the top priority amongst central banks, and the interoperability of CBDCs, getting it to work across different incompetent governments as such, is a challenge in and of itself. And the thing is that the language, I remember focusing in on the verbiage and the language that they're using is very interesting, that they need to stay ahead of technology, and there's a high sense of urgency to bring these CBDCs to market. And my theory is that they're behind, and they know it, because people are learning quickly. The education curve is information is just that much more accessible, and people are learning quickly, and Bitcoin adoption is happening fast. So I think they know that they're behind the curve, and they know that they're in a tight spot. I mean, looking at the FOMC, when Jay Powell was giving his statement, it's like they know that they're painted into a corner and they're in a tight spot, and they just don't know how to damage control the situation.
Right.
That's just my take on it.
Who painted you into this corner? I don't know. Maybe it's their own incompetence and mismanagement.
Yeah, the chickens are coming home to roost, and they've printed all this money, and now their only choice is really to turn the money printers back on. And these rate hikes are kind of a joke when you think about it, because the government debt is hardly serviced by tax receipts, as in the interest is hardly even serviced by the tax receipts. So taxes basically don't even cover the interest now,
right?
Let alone pay down any debt. So, money printer go burr, as they say. Money printer go burr.
I think I had a moment of, processing that one of those last points that you just made about how, our tax receipts don't even cover the interest anymore. And I think I tweeted a couple weeks ago while I was having some late night Twitter binge or something.
As you do.
Yeah. Occasionally we're all, not as strong as we should be. But I think I tweeted out something like, we're sliding over the edge of the slippery slope. We don't know how fast it's going to accelerate, but we have hit the point of no return in this system. And, let's start thinking about an intelligent one that, treats people reasonably well and doesn't destroy their wealth.
Amen. Look at this. This is Bitcoin versus the banks. Banks going down, Bitcoin going up. Interesting to see the decoupling, where Bitcoin's holding up pretty strong. At, let's see, what price are we at right now? We've held up pretty strong around 28K.
Yep.
And Bitcoin's looking pretty good. And its correlation against the stock market has gone down a lot. So Bitcoin's outperforming all these assets. I mean, shit, Bitcoin's up. Last time I checked, it was up about 70% year to date, which is a nice little breath of relief for us Bitcoiners who've been hodling onto our sats through the highs and the lows.
Right. I guess this chart I see you pulled from the zero head. So that's a really nice chart. Might have to save that or tweet that or something. But yeah, I liked how going through this article, they talk about, the uncertainty leads to what they say, like movement towards quality or something like that. Yeah,
It's a flight to safety. I think it's referred to as a flight to safety oftentimes. Right. Gold is hitting its all-time highs at about $2,000.
Mm-hmm.
And mind you, $2,000 buys you less today than it did when it was previously at its high. But I think gold will continue to go up because it is a flight to safety. Now it's going to get really interesting when Bitcoin gains market share on gold, because gold is a 10 to $15 trillion asset class, right?
Right.
And Bitcoin is over $500 million asset class. And if you do the math on that, it gets interesting when you divide gold's market share or market cap by Bitcoin's 21 million Bitcoins, because there will only ever be 21 million BTC.
Mm-hmm.
When you start to understand that Bitcoin is truly the scarcest asset ever, it changes things. When you realize it's digital gold, but it's even more precious than gold, then it changes almost everything.
Tatum
and
says,
you start.
Tatum
Go
says
ahead.
gold's hard to get right now, but Bitcoin is easy to get right now. So get yourself some Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, there's only 200 something thousand Satoshis per human being on Earth. And you can get 200,000 Satoshis for like $50 or something like that right now.
Right.
That's your share of Bitcoin. If you divide 21 million Bitcoin by 8 billion people, you get about 200,000 Satoshis. When you start to realize that it's true digital scarcity, it is a mind-blowing concept.
Mm-hmm.
So do the math, folks. It's like it's like Greg Foss says, it's just math. It's not that complicated. So do your own research, and it's tough. We're so early. We are so early here. That it's tough, because like the amount of ignorance going around where people think like Bitcoin's bad for the environment, or it's just like the people have no concept of Bitcoin yet. And that shows how early we are. And it shows how the more people that we can help, as far as like, I wish I knew about Bitcoin sooner. I wish that I made the comparison with gold because I was a gold bug. I wish I made that comparison earlier, because I'd have more Bitcoin. But
damn it, Colby, why couldn't you have orange pilled me in 2010?
Yeah, seriously. I remember dunking on you at Planet Fitness when when Bitcoin was passing parity with gold, and Bitcoin was about $1,700 or 2,000. It was $2,000. And I remember dunking on you, and I owe you an apology for that, because I remember I'm like, dude, what, like Bitcoin is it I didn't believe that it even existed. And I said, why would I buy Bitcoin when I can buy an ounce of gold for the same price? And again, how early was that? What was I thinking?
Right. And that was still just like 5 years ago or so, I guess. But yeah, I think it's exciting. Let's see.
It's exciting times for sure, my friend. And I think we're still like, the way I look at it, we're as early now as we were then, if that makes any sense. Like, we're still super duper 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 early.
Yeah. You tweeted or something like in the past weeks saying like the energy is shifting. Can you feel it or something like that?
Yeah.
And I've I've felt it too. My family has gone from calling me crazy in regards to Bitcoin to saying, I sure hope you're right. And
Just a matter of time.
that's a step in the right direction. You know, I think they'll keep stepping, and you know, it'd be nice to see as many you know, beautiful people on the lifeboat as possible.
I feel you, and it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. There's a saying that people buy Bitcoin at the price they deserve. And the thing is, again, if you care about your community, if you care about your family, if you care about yourself, you're going to do your own research. You're going to learn more about the data. You're going to get the information. You're not going to be a victim to the fear mongering and the propaganda that's telling you not to learn about Bitcoin. You're gonna do your own research and make your own decision and take responsibility for yourself and your community, and take responsibility for your money. And the only way to do that in the information age, the best way to do that, in my humble opinion, is Bitcoin.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, it seems like they look at you know, the government and critics, they can only look at like 1 degree of consequences of,
well, dude, they have an agenda. Let's keep it all the way 100. They've got an agenda every time.
Course. Yeah, I mean, they want control, they don't want competition, they don't want people to be able to opt out and do something that you know, frees them from the manipulation, of course. But you know, in regards to like the green stuff, you know, they don't seem to be capable of thinking beyond 1 degree of, oh, this uses electricity equals, you know, bad for the environment. You know, they can't think, what are the, they probably are not people who ever philosophized about, you know, money, or ever even thought about what's the definition, or what are some of the you know, qualities that money is supposed to have. And I think you know, just to sprinkle a little bit of that education around across the whole world is gonna do a whole lot of good. So, you know, hope we can get more people tuning in, get more people you know, talking about Bitcoin online, in person. You know,
hallelujah. I appreciate that. And with that said, let's sign off with a meme. It ain't much, but it's proof of work.
I like that.
I made that one. And it ain't much, but it's proof of work, folks. We're here for the Bitcoin.
Proof of work is honest work.
That's right.
That's good. And that's good work.
That's right. Ben, as always, appreciate you coming on the show, my friend. It's been an interesting chat. I really appreciated that point that the people that need Bitcoin the most, the people that need Bitcoin the most are, you know, are regular people like you and me, right? We're not only do, like, we actually stand to benefit the most from this technology, and we can benefit not just ourselves in a selfish, rent-seeking way, you know, like is so common in the debt-based system of fiat, is how do I get more debt than you, and how do I put you in debt, or like how do I get more debt? Bitcoin is honest money, and so when you benefit from Bitcoin, you also, in a sense, you benefit the whole Bitcoin ecosystem. You benefit the people that you share it with. You benefit your community. If you you know, want to benefit your community, like Ojai Jelly, OJAI Jelly.com, or the Peony Lane Wine, shout them out. Support the businesses that you care about. Let's learn more about Bitcoin, folks. Subscribe to the channel. You can find Ben. I'll drop some links in the description. Appreciate y'all tuning in, and I'm going to sign out. Peace, love, and Bitcoin, folks. See you next week.
See you, Colby. The Bitcoin is the rising tide that lifts all ships.
Let's roll. Hop in that life raft, folks. See you next time.
See you, everybody. Thank you. Thanks, Colby.